Hey, what's going on guys? It's Henry back with a video about options, and really today's video is about how I learned how to trade options, why I learned how to trade options, all of the mistakes that I made, my background, and suggestions that I have for you guys because, well, it definitely wasn't easy and it took me some time, so I want to give back as much information to you guys as possible. And although I do know that you guys probably know I worked at Goldman Sachs, I never really made a video about myself and how I got into options and really the whole process behind that. So how did it start? Well, I went to school for a biomedical engineer because I wanted to be a doctor. I really enjoyed helping people, but I quickly realized that I was really interested in economics and finance because I was looking at the business students and I was really enjoying the business classes that they were taking. So I decided to switch my major to finance because, well, that is where the money was at, or at least I thought it was on Wall Street. So I decided to quickly change my major to finance and I sort of never looked back. Honestly, back at that time when I was in college, I was playing a lot of poker, and the reason why poker is going to be really important is because poker and option trading have a lot of similarities together. And in fact, my very first internship on Wall Street, which I got, by the way, through networking, I wasn't some genius and I didn't really have any experience, but because I was a finance student and because I did have alumni in my network, that is pretty much the best way to get a job. I reached out to as many alumni as possible, telling them that I wanted to work on Wall Street. And it so happens to be that the first person that actually got back to me and gave me an opportunity for me to send my resume to him was an option trader on Wall Street. So I was super excited because I also knew that a competing firm, and by the way, I worked at a firm called Group 1 Trading. If you want, you can Google it. It's not the hugest firm in the world, but it's an option trading hedge fund. And I was working on the New York Stock Exchange. And I knew that they were going to teach me some poker because a competitor called Susquehanna International Group, which is in Philadelphia, they teach poker to all of the incoming traders. So I was super excited. And for me, the reason why I started with option trading was because I loved poker. I was like, wow, maybe I can make a full-time living playing poker. And I was super obsessed. I wasn't the best at it, but I was certainly not bad at it either. So I decided to combine my love for poker and finance and numbers and analytics and statistics and all of that good businessy stuff and get a job on Wall Street trading options. And at the very first time getting into the job, I literally had no clue what I was doing. I had no idea what really stocks or options were. I was pretty much just a 19-year-old kid getting started with college. And the very first thing that I was given was this book called Options Volatility. I will link it in the description below. It's by Sheldon Natenberg. And that book was very technical. It was not fun to read. And I spent that entire summer pretty much just reading that book. It was really complicated, and I think I only got through the first 10 chapters, and I realized that option trading was very heavy on math. But honestly, it doesn't really have to be. There's plenty of ways that now I know after like nearly 8/9 years of doing this, basically you don't have to have a lot of math. It is pretty simple if you think about it, but the option traders that were actually working on Wall Street did have to know that type of math, and they were very technical. Basically, that first freshman summer, all I did was manage the risk of the option traders position. So I was just looking and making sure that everything was going according to what they were trying to do, and there was like no issues in the trades that they were making. So I really wasn't doing a whole lot of work, but I was learning and sitting right beside these guys, and some of these guys are making $15,000, $20,000, or $25,000 a day, which was absolutely insane. And when that summer internship ended and I went back to school, I actually did end up getting an offer for Susquehanna International Group. And one of the biggest mistakes that I probably made in my entire career of actually getting jobs was that I ended up turning down Susquehanna International Group, which was an option trading firm, which is exactly what I wanted to do. But they gave me something like $13 an hour. And as a student, I was really money hungry because I grew up really poor. I really had no money. I couldn't really afford anything. I was pretty much living that college lifestyle where I really just needed to save as much as possible. And the difference between $13 an hour for Susquehanna International Group, which was pretty much my dream job, and this tax consulting job that I took at the time, which I got fired from because I was trading during work and I didn't want to have that job, it was $21, and that was pretty much the biggest mistake that I made, to be honest. However, during my tax consulting job that I had, I continued to trade options, I continued to learn about the market, and ever since having that internship, every single job that I've had after, including all the banks, including Goldman Sachs, I have done a lot of research on stocks and investing, but really all of that was geared towards trading options better. So I got introduced into options because it was so similar to poker. However, I just fell in love with options. And one of the things that I really realized even during my very first internship was when I was sitting next to an option trader, he told me that options are safer than stocks. And I was like, there's just no way. Options seem more risky. They seem like you can lose 100% of the money that you put in. There's just no way that options can be safer than stocks. But to be honest, that entire summer, I didn't believe him. I thought that this option trader probably doesn't know what he's talking about. He just said that just to sell me on options because he's an option trader. But as I went through learning options, as I learned different strategies like covered calls and selling puts, I quickly realized that he was right. If you do trade options in the proper way, they can be so much safer than stocks. And that's what actually made me fall in love with options even more and actually helped me stick with options. They're not really easy. They take a whole lot of time to understand. And when I was trying to watch YouTube videos or I was trying to Google, there was a lot of decent sources, but almost nobody seems to really understand options on a deep understanding. And the reason for that is because anyone that actually understands options is pretty much a full-time option trader on Wall Street. And most people that are going to be teaching options are most likely just teaching options and they're not full-time traders. They're more educators. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we need educators, we need YouTubers, we need people giving information. However, I couldn't really find the best information source. And there was a lot of good snippets of information, but there wasn't really full in-depth products or courses that I could invest in to really learn options. And to be honest, spending all of the money on school and taking all these classes that were not even relevant to what I actually wanted to do in life, I started to realize that taking courses was probably the best way to go. Even though they costed additional money, they were a fraction of what university actually costed. But when I looked for option trading courses, I couldn't find a legit course that I actually liked. So pretty much for 7 or 8 years, I actually had to do it the hard way. And I kept trading options for myself. And my very first 3 years were actually at a loss. And that was really difficult for me. And to be honest, I don't even know why I stuck through with options, because when you continuously lose and don't have any benefit of doing something, it's almost crazy to continue doing it. So for the first 3 years, I was following big investors like Carl Icahn and Bill Ackman and whatever they would do in terms of, buying stocks and stocks that they were going long. I would try to do covered calls or I would try to sell puts, and pretty much it just didn't work out. What I realized is following big name investors actually doesn't really work. And something that I did shift my mind on a little bit was with the whole Cathie Wood thing. Cathie Wood became really popular, and I actually did really like her because she was super correct on Tesla, right? She had accurately predicted Tesla, and I did notice that pretty much any stock that she was buying and trading was doing really well, but it wasn't necessarily because Cathie Wood was such a genius. It was because the market thought that she was a genius, and so many investors were following Cathie Wood. I did sort of change my mind about following investors, but long story short, for the first 3 years, I was absolutely terrible at trading options. So for anyone that thinks that, if you're not having success with options and you want to give up, trust me, don't give up. It's a very long process. Everyone is different. Some people who are engineers just quickly understand it within a week. And that's some of the easiest members that I have to teach, because every time they join my program and they take the full course that I've built, it's super easy for them. They're like, yeah, this makes sense. And they get to making money very quickly. But to be honest, not everyone's an engineer. I'm not an engineer. I probably wouldn't fully understand, and I didn't understand how to trade options for many years because I went through it the hard way, and the first 3 years were brutal. And then the 4th year, I actually think I broke even. Maybe I made something really small, like literally $11 or $111. I don't remember exactly, but things started to click for me. I started to understand that buying call options and having that casino mentality where you go and you just buy a whole bunch of options and you bet on a stock doing something really quickly, I started to realize that maybe that wasn't the best strategy, because when you're betting on something to happen, especially with options, you need to happen very fast and you need to happen on a large magnitude. Because, well, if you look at it, right, if you think about it, options have a strike and they have a expiration date. So you need the stock to hit its strike. And not only do you need it to hit its strike, you need it to happen very fast, because usually the expiration date, especially for new traders, they're trading something like a weekly option or even a monthly option, which is much better than a weekly option if you're buying options. But obviously you guys know, if you watch this channel, if you're subscribed, that if you're gonna buy options, I prefer to go with leaps. However, I didn't really know that at first. I was buying calls, I was doing all kinds of things around buying options, like buying puts on stocks that I didn't think were good. And I didn't fully understand that that strategy wasn't really a winning strategy. until I really started to really take my coursework more seriously. I became a junior in college. I started to meet more investors, and then I started getting more ideas around option trading. And then when I finally got the job at Goldman Sachs, I finally had a whole big research platform, which is pretty much the best thing about working at Goldman Sachs. It's not like there's anything super special that makes Goldman Sachs different from other banks, but one of the best things is they do have really good research. They have a whole bunch of PhDs that are working on options research. I recently made a video. One of the women's like Catherine Fogarty, John Marshall, these people were like my idols. I really liked the research that they were doing, and pretty much all the reports that I read were biased towards selling options, which is why I make so many videos on this channel about selling puts and covered calls and credit spreads, and really all of the option playlists that I have is a little bit biased towards selling options, because after that 4th year, I really started having a lot of success. In my 5th year and my 6th year of trading, I really started to understand how it works. So in my 5th year, I made like 30,000. In my 6th year, I started to make the 6-figure amounts. And now I'm in my 8th year, and I'm making a 6-figure income off of trading options. At this point in my life, you know, I'm about to be 27 years old in a month, and I have a 7-figure portfolio. But it really didn't come easily. It really came through lots of struggle and lots of sacrifice and lots of hardships throughout my life. Not only was growing up poor really tough, but you know, I realized that I just didn't want to be like my parents. They're immigrants and they don't have much, and that struggle made me really hungry to not only like be financially free, but also to learn a high income skill. And you know, you can choose any high income skill you want, but I knew that trading had a lot of money in it. And I also knew that throughout my life, as I save money, as I put it away, that when it goes into investments, understanding how to invest my money was pretty much going to be the most important thing to driving wealth. Because you can earn as much money as you want at a job, but if you don't invest that money, you can't truly get rich. And if you're a fantastic investor, you also can't truly get rich if you don't really have a good income source. So you really need two things working for you, and one really feeds the other, and they actually just work together. So was it all worth it? Well, I would say based on my results that it really was worth it. It was a whole lot of dedication. I definitely didn't have a whole lot of fun during college. I was basically just learning and being really hungry to become the best version of myself professionally, through business, through investing, and through just growing my income sources, and also really focusing on my knowledge within investing. I must have read every single book in Barnes & Nobles about investing, and to be honest, was it worth reading all of those books? I would probably say no, because the most important asset that we have as people is our time, because we can always make more money, but we can't make more time. In terms of reading books, it really wasn't the most helpful because I spent so much time reading them. Sure, I got a lot of information, but now what I realized in the way I have made a high income in addition to investing and in addition to trading options is going to mentors and paying for it. You can learn all the information you want for free. You can spend all the time in the world searching for free information, but really the only shortcut in life is going to a mentor and paying someone that has actually done it, paying for their time or paying for the resources that they have. So for me, I built a course because I wanted to teach as many people as possible about option trading, because my journey was 7 years. It was really worth it based on my results. However, if I could go back, I would absolutely not read books or go to university, although university did help, and I'm not knocking university. I think it's a great place to go. I don't think the return on investment was really worth it. I think it was worth it for me because I was a very hardworking person, but honestly for me, the difference was going to mentors. Having an option trader that I really learned from a young age, and listening to him and seeing what, you know, the option traders on Wall Street did, all of those type of things really sped up my learning process. And then later on, buying a lot of investing courses, they did help me, but really learning options was a long process, and I don't really want it to be a long process for people that are subscribed to me or people that are watching or other people that I personally want to help. And that's why I created a course to begin with. And before I actually started a YouTube channel, this might seem, I guess, a little bit salesy, but to be honest, this is just the truth. The reason I started a YouTube channel to begin with was because I wanted to teach people option trading. I used to be a tutor. I've tried so many different side hustles. I've had 20 different jobs. I did get fired from most of my jobs because I'm not an employee type of personality. I just can't work for someone else, and I love being an entrepreneur. But one of the things that I was doing was I was tutoring children in math. And if you can teach a child math, you can pretty much teach anyone anything, because it's really difficult for some children to understand, and I was really talented at explaining things. I truly feel like I'm blessed with a gift. I feel like I'm really intelligent enough to grasp concepts, but I'm also good at teaching people things. And usually people can only do one thing. They can either do or they can teach, but I feel like I'm actually blessed with both. So when I was starting YouTube, really my goal was to grow an audience so I can teach them option trading, because I know that option trading changed my life personally. So it was really interesting because when I started YouTube, it was really for only one purpose. And after nearly being on YouTube for 2 years, I'm finally focusing full time on teaching options, and I finally created a very successful group. So I just wanted to tell you guys as much as possible about the background, how options changed my life, and why I take options so seriously, and why I'm on this YouTube channel to begin with, why I'm doing what I do. And that's to teach as many people option trading as possible. That's why I created a community of option traders. I have 2 different coaches there. And that's why I have a team, so I can focus on trading options and teaching options rather than some of the manual stuff like creating documents and customer service and hiring people. I have a full team now, and it's over 10 people, including option coaches, a manager, and all of these people are helping me teach the world options, because that's now my goal. After spending nearly a decade on this, it's now my mission to teach you guys. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. I didn't really prepare for the video. It's very raw, and I just decided to tell you guys the story of option trading and what led me up until this point. Again, if you do want a free call with someone on my team, I would recommend you click the link below, and I would love to be the mentor that I wish I had.